please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, not the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, north of rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there. And man, this just keeps getting better and better and better. And tonight's episode is Prepare for the Arrest. This is the tone that I'm getting. We're getting there, people. I know everybody's really, really impatient with everything that's going on, but you have to understand, these things take time. You have to You have to slowly drip everything out. You have to allow not just you, who's been paying attention to this for a decade, you got to allow everybody else to get caught up. So arrests are coming, and we're going to look at some evidence that shows that tonight. But also to start, I wanted to give a shout out to Lee Walden over there on Rumble. Thank you so much for that Rumble rant of $5, Lee. Ahoy, Josh and crew. Hope all is well. Pretty amazing that the awakening is really happening. Where we go one, we go all. 100%, brother. Man, it is crazy that it's actually happening, but it is happening. Now, we're going to get into the hell. I'm just looking at the chat. So we're going to get into a lot of different things tonight. Newly declassified evidence against the deep state. We're going to look at that. We're going to put it all together of what it really means, from the things that we knew a decade ago, the things we've been tracking, to what is about to come, and why I believe the first arrest is right around the corner. And I think, I would say, September 11th or before, we are going to see the first arrest. So less than a month, we will see the first arrest. And I honestly think that it's going to be within a few weeks, but I think that that is a good time frame. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is something that's odd. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Trump is meeting with Putin on Friday. That's great. Steve Wyckoff went out there. They negotiated some things. Trump and Putin agreed to meet. Now Trump's going to go meet Putin. But it's where he's meeting Putin that is interesting. He's meeting Putin in Anchorage, Alaska. Why Alaska? You know, there's a symbolic representation of what's occurring right here in the context of why Trump would choose Alaska. Now, did you know before 1867, when the United States purchased Alaska, Alaska was a dual America-Russia kind of territory. It was Russian American. For the longest time after that, it was Russian American. So it's kind of common ground, if you want to look at it like that, between Russia and the United States. It's a place that we kind of share this border known as the Arctic. And that's where it gets really, really interesting. So I went ahead and published a new Substack blog today. If you want to go check it out, absolutely do that. It is a good read. The Arctic High Ground, Securing U.S. Dominance in the AI Era Against China. And if you didn't figure it out, this isn't necessarily about Ukraine. This is about the U.S. and Russia corroboration, and alliance that is being formed by Trump. And I'm telling you that this is what's going on. The August 15th Trump-Putin summit in Alaska is more than just optics. It's a calculated move on the new high ground, the Arctic. Once Russia-America, Alaska now sits at the crossroads of rare earth minerals and metals and energy reserves, emerging Arctic trade routes, strategic military positioning against China, and who knows what else, because the Arctic is kind of interesting. Trump's aims for this summit: split Russia from China's Arctic partnership. That's huge. Secure joint U.S.-Russia resource projects and lock China out of AI-era supply chains. Control the Northern Sea route to restrict Beijing's bypass of U.S. trade chokeholds. In the age of AI, control over the Arctic resources, control over the balance of power. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. I've written about this extensively this last year, that Russia-U.S. terms are, Trump wants to make them good. Trump wants to bring Russia into an alliance partnership. Why? Because at the end of the day, when you start looking at where the world is heading, and I think that we all can see this right now with all the amping up about artificial intelligence, is that the first country that obtains AI superiority, what I mean by AI superiority is I mean specifically who obtains artificial superintelligence first. That country is going to lead the world for the next century. And if it's China, you have to understand that centralization is the next thing that comes about after that. That war becomes obsolete because there is nothing that you can do to defend against that. So when we start looking at the moves that are being made right now by Trump, he understands that Russia is the large variable. The large variable in this whole context of this Cold War that is occurring right now between US and China with artificial intelligence. Because see, if China has Russian allegiance, cheap oil and gas and access to resources and trade routes to get around US kind of mock sanctions, then China will ultimately win this battle. If a war does break out, China and Russia will give the United States and Western allies a hell of a run for their money, if not defeat them. But see, if Russia is not involved in that game on China's side, if Russia is in context and an alliance with the United States of America, is indebted to the United States of America in some way, shape, or form, or fashion, then China doesn't even step up to the plate to play the game. They lose almost automatically. It's kind of this zero-sum game. When Russia aligns with the U.S. interest, it's over for China. And so this is what is hinging right now. And why I think Trump chose Alaska as a symbolic attribute for this summit. Number one is it's far away from any NATO city. It's far away from, any American-influenced European city. It brings about neutral territory and neutral ground where both countries have a rich history, as well as it's positioned directly right there in the Arctic. And when I say the Arctic, you got to remember, we're talking about northern Canada, and I said this, right? Why Trump goes after Canada as the 51st state. This is specifically because of Canada's rich natural resources in the northern territories, including uranium, oil and gas, rare earth minerals and metals, so on and so forth. And then Greenland, which has, I think, about $3.7 trillion worth of natural resources within its soil. But then there's also the question of what else is up there that they're trying to get to that potentially the melting of the ice caps is going to bring about, that if they find, well, they win. And that goes back to Nazi Germany. If you understand what I'm talking about there. The Thule Society back in Nazi Germany was occultly influencing the SS and various other factions within the Nazi regime. From this, you get the Repill Society and all of these others. Now, what's interesting is that the Nazi SS had a kind of a goal of going out there and validating ancient historical myths by finding historical artifacts or proving and validating that there was an ancient civilization that was highly technologically advanced on this planet prior to us. Now, I forget the guy's name. I think it's Ottoman Heinschwar or Heinschwartz. I think his name is Heinschwartz or something like that. He was an SS member, and he was tasked by the Nazi regime to go around the world and search for a lot of these artifacts. Specifically, he was looking for an entrance into what they would consider to be today an underground military base left behind by this ancient civilization that existed in the Arctic. This brought about what's known as the Eureka telegram. One single word in a telegram from the Arctic all the way back to Berlin that said Eureka from this gentleman. After that, the Nazis began to take over all of Europe as if they had just found the Holy Grail. Now, there's a lot of truth behind that story and a lot of speculation behind that story. What did they find up there? Is the United States and China and Russia all been searching for it ever since? It's possible. But I think that whatever it is, I think we'll find out relatively soon. But going back to what we're talking about here is that in order to retain U.S. AI dominance and U.S. homogeny around the world, which is Trump is poised to do, an alliance with Russia is pertinent. It must happen. And I think that that's what this summit is going to be all about. Another shout out, Mega Nuke gifted 5 subscriptions on Rumble. Thank you so much, Mega Nuke. Appreciate that, brother. And then we had Lexi Lou. It's amazing how long we have all been on the journey to this day. Thanks for everything you have shared with us through the years. Thank you so much, Lexi Lou. $10 Rumble rant. Appreciate that, guys. I don't have that stuff in front of me, but I got it on my phone right here. I figured I should start paying attention. So an August 5th Delta comes into relevance today. And this is what I want you to understand. Okay, I'm going to go back to the drawing board because I get a lot of people like, why haven't we seen arrests? Why isn't anything happening? And I even seen it today on a few different things commenting on a Trump video. People are like, where are the arrests? Hurry up. And he's going to fire Pam Bondi and all this stuff. No. That's not the case. You remember what Kash Patel said in an interview? I work at the pleasure of Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States. Pam Bondi said, I take my orders directly from President Trump. FISA. Kill brackets, 20. There's a reason why we needed to go mainstream prior to the evidence being dropped. You have more than you know. D5, where we go one, we go all. And if you don't know what D5 represents, double meanings exist. D5, the chess move, where in the sacrifice of one piece on the board shifts the tables into the checkmate scenario to where your opponent is done. Also, D5 is the highest classification of ratings for an avalanche. And when that avalanche comes, nothing can get in its way. Nothing can stop what's coming. And that's where the D5 reference plays a huge role. Now, we got to remember about FISA specifically. What does Q, the board, say about FISA specifically? Foundation, bottom to top, layers. FISA equals foundation, the start. People are more aware of current events. Establish the link. So what he's saying here is that you got to put these two posts together. He says, number one, there's a reason why we needed to go mainstream prior to the evidence being dropped. So evidence is being dropped in 2025, but the movement came out and started dropping this information in 2016 to 2020 to 2024. Why? Because we needed to provide a basic reference for everything that was about to unfold when the declassification begins. That's what we're talking about here. We had to build the foundation, bottom to top, layers upon layers. The FISA declassification that we're seeing right now is the start of it. Remember what I told you. FISA goes both ways. It goes backwards. It goes forwards. It uncovers all the corruption, all the treason, all the crimes that they committed before. What was the reason why they tried to frame Trump and coup him in 2016? To cover up their crimes of treason that they had done against this country, the selling off of SAP programs, pay-for-play schemes, Uranium One scandal, Fast and Furious scandal, Benghazi, the selling out of the United States of America to foreign entities, foreign NGOs, China, and mostly the 16-year plan bringing about the New World Order. This was what they were doing. Trump comes in, they're screwed. They got to try to cover that up. So what they did is for 4 years, they tried to stop Donald Trump with every aspect of lawfare that they possibly could, throwing everything at him, including 2 different impeaches, January 6th, the Mueller investigation, which brought about the understanding of FISA-gate, where we are at now. So Q says here, people are more aware of current events. He's absolutely right. Most people have forgotten about all this information and evidence, but guess what? This audience has not. This audience has not forgotten about it because that's what we've talked about since 2019. That's what we've been continuously talking about is all of this information and all of this evidence. We kept it all going for this specific moment right now. Think criminal illegal acts to prevent an overturned presidential election of POTUS. Public awareness, evidence introduced, mainstream media covert link. Think Sessions open statement, leaked investigations. How do you build a home? Foundation to structure, layers, Huber, layers, Uranium One, Iran, human trafficking, Haiti, corruption, etc., etc. Logical thinking. Everything that they've done, the Durham report, the Huber investigation, the Horowitz. We got Huber, Horowitz. We got, who else we got? We got another one in there. But all of this comes together in the context of what we're talking about today. It's all going to come into play as we move forth with all of this. And so Donald Trump said this today, and many people were saying President Trump just called out AG Pam Bondi and said he hopes something's going to be done with Hillary Clinton and Adam Schiff. Now, when I listen to this, I don't hear Donald Trump calling out Pam Bondi. Listen to what he says.
With them great, actually. We had the Russia. I had to go through the Russia hoax, and it was actually it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him. I said, You know, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger. And Adam Schiff, it was all made up. It was all.
He says, I'm looking at Pam, and she's in the audience. I'm looking at Pam because I'm hoping something's going to be done about this. Remember what Pam Bondi says. I take my orders directly from Donald J. Trump, but you have to understand something here. Trump cannot be involved with what the DOJ does. That's weaponization of the Department of Justice. Trump can't be sitting there saying, I want these people prosecuted, prosecute them to directly to Pam Bondi. So by Trump looking at Pam Bondi and saying, I hope Pam Bondi does something about this, that is an indication that we're about to see something come very, very fast. He just gave us a huge hint. He was not calling it out, but instead signaling that something is about to happen, something is about to drop. Now, why would he call out Pam Bondi? Listen, he's not going to call out Pam Bondi. He's not going to replace Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi works directly for Donald Trump. Understand that she is taking direct orders from Trump, but you cannot show that in the public view because that's weaponization of the DOJ, exactly what they're blaming the Biden administration of. And Donald Trump is probably not even involved in it. He's just kind of sitting back, getting the briefings, saying, okay, we knew this. But guaranteed damn well that before they came into this administration, he pointed at all the angles, laid it all out, all the levels of evidence that they need to collect and how it's going to be distributed and how it's all going to play out over the course of the next year. Guarantee you Trump did that with them. Now, what are we expecting? You know, listen to Stephen Miller again. I go back to the D5 avalanche because this is where you start to understand what I'm talking about.
Hour and the moment for accountability so that we can reclaim this democracy, Maria.
Well, do you believe we will actually get accountability? We've been demanding accountability now for a decade. Our audience is well aware that this is the biggest political scandal we have ever seen and an effort to undermine and take down a duly elected president. But now we want to see the tricksters face the consequences. Will they?
I have complete confidence in the Department of Justice to follow these facts, to follow this new, further avalanche of evidence, and to take all the necessary legal steps to ensure that the wrongdoers, the coup plotters, the schemers, and the insurrectionists are held fully accountable under the laws and Constitution of these United States. Yes, Maria, I believe that.
Now, last weekend, John Ratcliffe, CIA director who is a former prosecutor, former DNI, told us that the statute of limitations, the 5-year statute, does not apply when it comes to conspiracy. And he says the conspiracy is ongoing because they still won't admit it. The conspiracy is still happening. So what is your take on what Ratcliffe told us last week?
Oh, he's completely right. So several of the statutes I mentioned, we have not even come close to eclipsing the statute of limitations. But more than that, it is an ongoing and continuing conspiracy. It continued through the entirety of President Trump's first term. It continued through the entirety of President Biden's term in office. And it continues to this day. There are still deep state coup plotters who are trying to conceal and hide this information on behalf of the people they are protecting. There are still staffers in Democrat offices who know the full truth, who are concealing that truth. So all of this behavior, all of this conduct collectively means the conspiracy hasn't ended, is ongoing. Comey in particular has throughout the years engaged in conduct and lies, public statements, and testimony in front of Congress. False testimony whose sole purpose was to perpetuate and continue the conspiracy. So I have every hope and expectation that the Department of Justice, under the leadership of our courageous Attorney General, will follow these facts and follow the evidence and deliver justice. Because if we have a country where we can continue to have FBI careerists and CIA careerists deep staters who will fabricate and doctor evidence, who will create and produce fake material, fabricated material, phony information to try to go after their political enemies up to and including the president. If we continue to create the impression and the reality that there is not a criminal, a severe criminal penalty for such conduct, it will never stop. It will never desist. It will keep on going forever. And we will continue to have a country that is sabotaged endlessly by the production of fake documents, fake material, fake plots against democratically elected officials. We can't have that. There must be consequences.
Well, boom. Well, and Stephen Miller is right, but what did he say? That we have to use the U.S. Constitution and the laws before us. We have to follow the full legal process to do all of this. And right now, whether we realize it or not, we're in the drip, drip flood. We haven't even seen the mountain of evidence against them. We have just got a little taste, the tip of the iceberg. And I've said this over and over and over. And the same thing with Epstein. Telling you, we're not seeing everything yet, but what we're doing is they're laying the foundation, layers upon layers. What we're about to see over the course of the next month to 2 months is rapid declassification, drip, drip, flood, allow everybody to get caught up, to understand the historical context, and now bring in the real damning evidence. The real damning evidence, I believe, is going to be personal email servers. Obama, Clinton, Comey, back level communications that were happening between these people that they don't know that we have, that the NSA captured and intercepted. What do I mean by that? Oh, let me see. George Soros buying Activision in 2018 for back-end communication. The Xbox Live platform being utilized as a method for communication. Personal email addresses that we know Hillary Clinton utilized and Barack Obama used to communicate. You got this things like Strzok and Page's text messages. So text messages, government phones, all of this stuff is going to come into play. And we're going to see that relatively soon. And listen, the people that are the forefront of this, Stephen Miller, General Flynn, all these guys that are out there on the regular news and breaking this information, they can't tell you what's coming next, even though they probably know. And the reason is you don't want to sound like this is pre-planned. Although we can see that this is all pre-planned. This was the plan from the get-go, to get all of the information and then slowly drip, 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 release and take down the deep state, because this is how it had to be done. Let's listen to General Flynn right here on Bill O'Reilly.
You're saying that Brennan in August of 16, when the campaign was underway, okay, right, knew that the Hillary Clinton dossier, the one that her campaign paid for, was phony. He told Barack Obama that. That's according to the Durham report. But Obama didn't quite believe it because he wanted another intel assessment, correct?
Yeah, I'm not so sure, Bill. Now you're asking, I'm speculating a little bit. I'm not sure where Barack Obama's, head was at that time. He might have had other information. He may have known that it was going on, or whatever he and Brennan talked about, mano a mano in the Oval Office in that meeting. But I would say that what Obama did do, and having worked with commanders and having worked with bosses when it came to intelligence, is to direct Brennan to continue to pull this thing together. So he didn't say
it's bogus, ignore it. He said continue to investigate. Is that correct?
That's what I believe that they are going to find out. That he said continue to investigate, and it's clear later on with some of the other evidence that now is been exposed by Tulsi Gabbard.
So there's a few different things here. We know that Barack Obama knew as early as July 7th, 2016. How do we know this? You just follow the chain of custody of the direct orders that came to Hillary Clinton from the Open Society Foundation. From Leonard Bernardo at the Open Society Foundation says on June 27th of 2016 that Hillary Clinton has agreed to move forth with the Russia compromise, with the fake Russia compromise, with the Russia Trump, pinning Russia to Trump. and that we're going to have CrowdStrike actually produce the media and the data to do that. Now, what happens the next day? The next day is when Hillary Clinton meets with James Comey. Then she spends the July 4th weekend with James Comey. Then right after the July 4th weekend, what do we have? We have the email investigation that is dropped. And then Hillary Clinton boards a plane with Barack Obama, I believe on July 7th, 2016, and flies to North Carolina. What did they talk about? What did they discuss? Did they have a phone there? Was that conversation recorded? I think it was. And in the midst of that, by the way, actually, the day after the Bernardo email was the Clinton Lynch Tarmac meeting in Phoenix, Arizona. This is critical and important to understand. Number one, it's a violation of campaign laws, but what happened there was Bill Clinton offered Loretta Lynch a seat on the Supreme Court if she dropped the email case against Hillary Clinton, as well as other things were discussed there. This comes a day after Hillary Clinton agrees to do the compromise on Donald Trump with Russia connection with the Open Society Foundations. Then just a few days later, obviously Lynch goes out there, gets FBI Director Comey to talk to Hillary Clinton. She spends the July 4th weekend with him. The next day, July 5th, the case is dropped by Peter Strzok, right? And then 2 days later, she's meeting with Barack Obama on a flight to North Carolina. And then on July 31st, the Russian investigation is opened by the FBI counterintelligence team, the same person who was investigating Hillary Clinton's email server, Peter Strzok, whatever the fuck you say his name. But that same investigator opened up the investigation on July 31st. Then we have the August 3rd White House meeting and the August 16th meeting that he's talking about right here, where Barack Obama knew at that very moment on public record that the Steele dossier was fake information. He told Brennan to continue. We have this in email. We have that evidence actually put out there. The question is did Barack Obama know prior to this? In all of the intelligence assessments that were done, is there an alignment that shows that Barack Obama was complicit in this treasonous conspiracy? And that's what we're beginning to see right now. Newly declassified top secret emails sent on December 22nd, 2016, complying with Barack Obama's order to create a manufactured January 2017 ICA about Russian expose of how DNI James Clapper demanded the IC fall in line behind the Russia hoax. Clapper admits that it was a team sport that required compromise in our normal modalities. In other words, Barack Obama wanted them to lie on the intelligence community's assessment on the 2016 election, to utilize the information of the Steele dossier of this Russian compromise that was generated by CrowdStrike, so forth, from the email hack in this intelligent assessment to basically pin it against Donald Trump. That's your smoking gun right there. This is huge. John Sullivan right here. Listen to what he has to say.
Tonight, we're going to tell you about the other Clinton investigation, one that was running in 3 separate FBI offices, New York, Washington, and Little Rock. It was a predicated criminal investigation that was examining whether Hillary Clinton ran a pay-to-play scheme that delivered favors from her perch as Secretary of State, while foreigners and others paid large sums of money to her family foundation, the Clinton Foundation, run by Bill Clinton and their daughter, eventually Chelsea Clinton. 3 separate agencies, 3 separate bureaus, offices of the FBI believe they had predicated evidence to pursue that. Every time they tried to move the ball down the road in the shadows of the 2016 election, they got shut down. I mean, they got shut down at the highest levels of their agency. Andrew McCabe, the deputy director, a man who potentially had a conflict of interest with Hillary Clinton. His wife got money from Hillary Clinton's former campaign chair to run for a Virginia state Senate. And by the way, McCabe attended the meeting where that assistance was solicited. He eventually was conflicted out, but not before he gave the order to his agents that you won't investigate or do anything on this unless I approve it. Downstream from them, 4 different U.S. attorneys' offices under Barack Obama were asked for help by the agents. Agents need help. We need a grand juror. We need to get evidence. We want to move the case down the road. All 3 of those 4 offices told the agents, you're on your own. We will not assist you in your pursuit of criminal charges against Hillary Clinton. And then perhaps the most extraordinary statement in the document that we are going to show you on screen now. They can put it up as you're looking here. The Deputy Attorney General for Barack Obama, Sally Yates, explicitly told the FBI, shut it down, meaning the corruption probes of Hillary Clinton. Think about this. While Donald Trump was out on the campaign trail chanting, lock her up, maybe there was a good reason to lock up Hillary Clinton, he would argue every night, the Obama Justice Department was telling the FBI agents who also thought there might be a reason to lock up Hillary Clinton, shut it down. Remember those words. We have a lot more up for you. In a second, we're going to bring in Senator Ron Johnson, someone who's been...
Now, what was I just saying a little while ago? That this opens up the doors, right? This opens up the doors to everything. Remember when I was talking about the Q post? Foundation, bottom to top. The layers, uranium one, Iran, human trafficking, Haiti, corruption, etc., etc. What's John Solomon talking about? He's talking about Clinton's pay-for-play scheme. Iran, uranium one, human trafficking, Haiti, corruption. This is being blown back open with new revelations from a Sally Yates leaked email. Now, do you find it interesting that Q post 1830, dated August 9th, 2018, just dealt a few days ago, the Clinton Foundation, 888-373-7888. Now, why is that interesting? Because all of this is going to come into play. Their past crimes are not going to be ignored. It's all going to be wrapped up. FISA is the start, is the foundation. It's going to layer up. The question is going to be asked at some point during FISAgate. Why did you guys try to form this coup on Donald Trump? Well, to cover up our own crimes from 2008 to 2016. And then why did you continue after 2016? Well, we had to stop him. We took back power in 2020, but we couldn't retain it because Donald Trump had made so many damn changes and had decimated the information network that they owned and controlled. Give a shout out to Whipspur123, gifted 5 subscriptions on Rumble. Thank you so much, Whipspur. Appreciate that. So by taking back the media, right? I want to kind of give you a little timeline here. And I don't care what you think of this guy. If Elon Musk never bought X, never bought Twitter, if we never won the information war, if the Twitter files never came out, the Democrats probably would have won that last election. I'm just saying. If we never took back control of information, if we never became we the media, if we never saw the fall of the mainstream media, they would have won. The only reason that we stand here today is because we won the information war. We won the information war by going out there and following through, reporting this information day in and day out over the last decade. And we did it by finding alternative solutions to help disseminate this information. The rise of Rumble, the rise of True Social. And then when X got bought out by Elon Musk and he opened it up to the freedom fighters in the world, that transition changed everything. That was the end of the deep state as we know it. They really didn't have a foundation to work from that moment forth. So, what other evidence do we see coming out the last few days? This is one of those declassified FBI records you should not miss. This is from Catherine Herridge, follow the pen on X. The October 2017 FBI report alleges leaking by Democrats of the House Intelligence Committee was not a one-time thing. There was a systematic process. Notes would be run up to the ranking members, Adam Schiff, after which a decision was made as to who would leak the information. Leaking classified information knowingly. So other documents declassified DNI Gabbard just recently show that the DNI James Clapper in December 2016 rejecting concerns expressed about the Trump-Russia conclusion by the NSA director Mike Rogers, Admiral Mike Rogers, a 4-star admiral, with a statement, "That's our story and we're sticking to it." Clapper also urged Rogers to compromise our normal modalities. You got to remember, Rogers plays a really big role in all of this. He was the NSA director, and he drove from Washington, D.C. to Trump Tower to notify them that there was an open FISA warrant on them and for them to be quiet. Rogers is a big player who mislogged the Clinton-Lynch tarmac meeting at the NSA and then used that against James Comey to open up the email investigation once again. He's a patriot through and through, but he's got to play the official acting capacity in this context. And he's like, "Hey, guys, let's see the evidence. Let me see the evidence." And James Clapper says, "Nope, you're not going to see the evidence. We got to go around normal modalities here. Instead, you just need to jump in line and get online with what we're talking about here." And Rogers would not jump on board with it. New evidence. Back on July 17th, DNI Gabbard declassified evidence of the Obama administration's conspiracy to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and presidency. That release disclosed on December 14th, 2016, IC leaked to the media, claiming with a high level of confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin was personally involved in the U.S. election hack. Today's declassification documents show that the IC opened an investigation into that leak. However, they waited more than 9 months to do it. The delay prevented them from determining who leaked the information. Now, who leaked the information? We know who leaked the information. Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff and others of the Five Eyes, or not the Five Eyes, the Gang of Eight, who were Democrat controlled, that were leaking this intel. We have another one. Newly declassified documents show that Comey ordered the FBI to assist the New York Times in writing one of their articles. What? Remember, information warfare is a critical component of all of this. As part of the FBI's assistance, FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were interviewed by the New York Times to help them write their article. James Comey has just been exposed for ordering the FBI to leak classified information to the New York Times during Trump's first term, the newly declassified doc show. So within this doc, it also shows that when Strzok and Page went there, the interview conducted leaked classified information. Now, who directed James Comey to do that? Barack Obama. It's just, this gets better and better and better. Now, Paul Sperry reports, sources tell me that ODNI and CIA are preparing affidavits for more than a dozen additional whistleblowers who will attest to the intelligence abuses aimed at Trump, which could be presented as evidence to a federal grand jury once AG Bondi selects a district to hear the case. Now, this compiles into what we have as the T1 whistleblower, which we know is not Republican or a Trumper, the new recent whistleblower that's coming out against Adam Schiff, and now we have dozens of other IC whistleblowers ready to come forth and tell their story. Here's the thing, is they all came forth between 2016 and 2020, and they were all denied. The deep state was alive and well during that time and shut them down. Now, I'm going to go back to a last week's interview with Bannon that John Solomon did. Listen to what he says there, because it confirms something that I wrote 2 weeks before this. I wrote this back in July, saying, watch Florida. Florida is going to be the jurisdiction that this all happens in.
Make us smart right now. What should the Warren Posse be looking for in developments in this case?
I'd be staking out the Justice Department next week to see which U.S. attorney comes to meet with Pam Bondi, because that most likely would be the U.S. attorney that inherits the grand conspiracy case. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be Miami, and then the grand jury will be put in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is the same district where Jack Smith did his business, and the raid on Mar-a-Lago and all of the things that we now know about that. That makes a lot of sense, because that's the back end of the conspiracy. Most grand juries are impaneled where the most current crimes or alleged crimes are believed to have occurred, and then you work your way back to earlier. So I'd be watching for a visit by the Miami U.S. attorney or some team from Miami or Fort Pierce coming up, and then look for some announcement. If that happens, then the grand conspiracy investigation that has already been written as a predicate by the FBI is underway. If they start doing business in Washington, it means they're fragmenting this and maybe not looking at it as a conspiracy. So I'd be watching for that. Mike,
is there any evidence that Florida's in play? any evidence at all? So, number one is we have to go back again. We have to look at this. We have to bring all the evidence into play here. This is just a few weeks ago. Listen to this one.
We start today's show with some big breaking news, and we're going to go straight to Fox News correspondent David Spunt for the details. David.
Well, Will, good to be with you. This is coming out of the Justice Department. Fox News can confirm that Attorney General Pam Bondi today signed an order directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to the country of Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order just hours ago signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe confirms this as well, while a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on this report of an investigation. Fox is told Attorney General Bondi is taking the referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson says that Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now,
okay. Now, John Solomon said, watch Florida next week. Did anything happen in Florida today, maybe? Who visited there? Wait, is that Pam Bondi? Is that Pam Bondi with Jason Redding Quinones sworn in as a United States attorney for the Southern District of Florida? Oh. It's coming, guys. There it is. John Solomon says, watch Florida next week. See what district attorney is going to be visiting there and who they're visiting with. Jason Redding Quinones sworn in as the United States attorney for the Southern District of Florida with Pam Bondi in Florida. What's that an indication of? That the grand jury is being formed right now in the Southern District of Florida, that we have the Patriots in full control, that this is moving forth, and that we very, very, very soon could see indictments coming. I mean, days, if not weeks, indictments are coming. And I believe James Comey, John Brennan, your first two indictments. James Comey, John Brennan. Why? Because they aren't the figureheads. They aren't the top, but they're not the bottom. But they're the ones that tie it all together. They're the ones that have been most active and verbal out there. And James Comey, we know, is the weak one. I think that James Comey, by the way, has already spilled the beans. I think James Comey is singing like a bird out there. And this comes about from one of Trump's previous posts or one of Dan Scavino's previous posts that he did. I went over this the other night with Game Tech. I'm going to bring it up for you right now because it's really important to understand the comms that Scavino and Trump do to you and me to decipher, because they're really easy to understand when you understand the context of everything that is going on. When we go to Scavino's post, and I'm pulling it up right now. I'm almost there. That's not it. I'm so close. I thought I could talk all the way up until I found it, but I guess it was further down on my feed than I remember. You ever go through your feed and realize, like, oh my God, I remember that. I remember that. Oh yeah, that was just the other day. Oh, now I'm 2 days in. Now I'm 3 days in. That's how I feel with my feed, by the way. On my X account. And I use X as my timeline for everything that we do here. Oh, we're going to talk about that for sure. Up there it is. I got it. So Scavino posts this post right here. Right? At the bottom, you have John Scavino retweeting John Brennan with a clown. Then he retweets James Comey. Now, what are the first two investigations that were announced by the DOJ? James Comey, John Brennan. Who's been in the news a lot lately? The declassified emails? James Comey, John Brennan. Now, Scavino puts a clown face up with John Brennan, but then puts Trump sunshine with Comey. Well, why would he put Trump sunshine with Comey? When does a bird sing? Is Comey talking and going to the DOJ and unleashing it all, singing like a bird? I do believe so. What is a speculative argument I can make against this? 8647. James Comey posts the seashells of 8647 on his X account, and he got a visit by who? Secret Service. But it wasn't just any Secret Service. He was brought into Washington, D.C., into a field office. He was sat down in a private room for a conversation for hours. James Comey was setting up his future immunity agreement to throw them all under the bus, and he will testify against them, but he wants immunity. The first part of that immunity agreement would be that he becomes the first arrest. And I think that that's going to happen sooner rather than later. So, Attorney General, we already talked about that one. Sorry. Now, today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced Tuesday that the U.S. is in the process of designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. This is huge. But by the way, CAIR, the Muslim Brotherhood, do you know that Huma Abedin's father, Huma Abedin, the former chief of staff to Hillary Clinton, the former wife of Anthony Weiner that was there during the Anthony Weiner laptop scandal, the insurance file was Huma Abedin's on his laptop, who's now married to Alex Soros, same Huma Abedin, is one of the founding members of CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood, which is going to be deemed a terrorist organization. Why is this important? Because I have to bring about the story. Long live Phil Haney. If you don't know who Phil Haney is, I've talked about him numerous times on this show. He was going to be on my show like a few weeks after this event happened. He's a DHS, Department of Homeland Security, founding member and a whistleblower. He warned for years about the Muslim Brotherhood's infiltration in the United States. He said the DHS ordered him to delete files linking the Brotherhood-tied groups, CAIR, ISNA, etc., to terrorist networks, undermining probes in the Fort Hood, San Bernardino, and more. Remember Hassan, the one shooter at Fort Hood who went nuts? Yeah, direct connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. 2016, he went public and say something, citing the Brotherhood's own plan to destroy Western civilization from within. 2 years later, Haney was dead, ruled a suicide. If you don't know the story, on January 27th, 2021, Phil Haney was on John B. Wells' radio show, Caravan the Midnight, and he said that next week he was going to meet a source and he was going to have breaking information about all of this. And he said, and John Wells says, Phil, you're not, please state for the audience that you're not suicidal, please, Phil. And Phil says, oh, well, John, I'm not suicidal. I got a brand new girlfriend and my relationships are great. And that if I somehow die, investigate. 2 weeks later, Phil Haney was dead. Single gunshot wound to the head under a bridge in California, ruled a suicide. Representative Gomer and many other congressmen came out calling bullshit and said, hey, this needs to be investigated, but that all got shut down. So I wanted to bring that up because all of that is going to play into the pre-FISA stuff. When we start talking about the open doors of the Obama administration, allowing terrorist organizations to come in and control our government at the local and state level and into the federal level, the covering up of that, the linked terrorist organizations operating in the United States of America under the Obama administration, it's all going to play a very, very large role in everything you're about to see and uncover over the course of the next 6 months. Gavin Newsom says that California will move forward with drawing new congressional maps that he said will end the Trump presidency, allow Democrats to take control of the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, I'm just going to go out there and say this right now. Gavin Newsom is in no way, shape, or form innocent in any matter in any of the stuff that we see going on. Expect some massive major scandal to come out against Gavin Newsom here very, very fast. Because Donald Trump doesn't fuck around. And the way Donald Trump looks at things is when a governor like that threatens Donald Trump, specifically by doing something very illegal, the gerrymandering of districts, it's like Powell over at the Federal Reserve. Powell comes out, nope, Mr. President, not reducing rates. Nope, Mr. President, not reducing rates. Nope, Mr. President, not reducing rates. And then all of a sudden, he's got a $3.1 billion lawsuit against him for the smuggling of the U.S. funds to the new Federal Reserve building, which is over budget, and you could have built a whole new building for that price, as well as some personal issues that seem to be him taking money in on personal sides that could be looked at as money laundering that are going to come about for Jerome Powell. And now Jerome Powell is saying, oh, maybe we're going to reduce rates in September. Pretty sure something big is about to drop on Gavin Newsom. Just saying. I saw this today, and I had to say this. Now, I'm going to give context here. If you go back to my earlier podcast of me talking about certain things, and specifically the one threat that scares me the most and these other things and some stuff that I can't talk about, listen to what I say here. So the U.S. is placing secret tracking devices and AI chip shipments to detect illegal diversions to China and other destinations under U.S. export restrictions. I said, that's pretty easy to block. China will easily go around those tracking systems put into the boxes. I said, what they need to do is entangle a single transistor on a chipboard, then set up their global quantum sensing satellites to detect the change in location. If any chip gets shipped off to various locations outside of its limits, then you can hack them and shut them down pretty easily with AI exploits and gain access through the entangled hardware. Don't tell me it's not possible. It's literally being done right now. I'll leave that at that. You can extrapolate from whatever you want. All right. After all this shit is good and done, then we move on to something completely different. The world is changing faster than you can ever imagine. With understanding that, I see the need that there is a need for more information. Tonight, I'm going to be debuting a podcast that we actually put out last week on our Substack. It also does have its own Rumble channel, and you guys can go on over here and follow it if you are into the financial crypto AI stuff and like those conversations. This is my good buddy, Sean Morgan. If you guys didn't know, Sean Morgan is awesome. Him and I are co-hosting a podcast. I'll be there every once in a while. Sean's going to take the lead on most of it. But the first episode, the Crypto Future Podcast, episode 1 with Sean Morgan and Josh Reed, you can watch that directly on Rumble, and you just type in the Crypto Future AI Crypto Money Podcast. I will get that link out to everybody on my social media, so that will be posted on social media, so everybody can go to that link and follow it there. But this episode will be on Red Pill Project's Rumble channel tonight. So just make sure that if you want to go out there and subscribe to this, that you can get out there on this. There's a reason why we're doing this right now, specifically because of what is coming and what is coming down the road. Now, listen to Scott Bissett right here on what he says, specifically about stablecoins.
And I'm here to assure you that we are going to work with the controller of the currency, the IRS, and we're going to rescind and amend all applicable previous guidance. And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. And I'm here.
Did you hear what he just said?
Currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that.
How does he do that? You have to understand that it has to be an asset-backed currency. It has to be backed upon something. Bitcoin, new all-time high, 123,000 people. And I'm going to say this right now. Not many chances left to get it at this price. That price is going to skyrocket over the course of the next few months. If you want that consultation, guys, thecryptofuture.com. Use that discount code 2025 discount for 50% off. Thecryptofuture.com. Get into crypto right now. If you are not into it, is a still early adoption. You can still get in cheap. And yes, that's fucking cheap for Bitcoin to where it's going to be. But what's Scott Bissett saying about stablecoins? I got it from Good Word. Someone said this on an X space one day, and I was like, if that's true, that changes everything. Called up one of my buddies who's a programmer over at the U.S. Treasury. And I asked him about this, and he said, yeah. He said, yeah. So sorry, forgot to tell you. That the U.S. is going to issue a 50-year gold and potentially Bitcoin bond to stablecoin companies for them to mint new stablecoins, which will be utilized as legitimate U.S. currencies. In other words, the U.S. currency that is going to have global dominance around the world is going to be gold and asset backed. If you understand anything about economics and what that means that the whole financial infrastructure is about to change. And you need to get on board with blockchain, cryptocurrency, and understand it. So thecryptofuture.com if you want to do that. Now, a few different reminders. We were talking about Pam Bondi, and you heard the one video where it said, Pam Bondi is taking the direct referrals from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. DNI Tulsi Gabbard is the one that is releasing all of the declassified information. Guys, this is like a Q proof in itself, and nobody's even paying attention to it. Who's the highest ranking civilian serving in the U.S. intelligence that is also a U.S. military officer, which would bring this military office full engagement over three-letter agencies as discussed in Q14. What is state secrets and how they upheld in the Supreme Court? What must be completed to engage military intelligence over three-letter agencies? What must occur to allow for civilian trials? Tulsi Gabbard is a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, also the director of national intelligence. Understand what that means. Military is the only way. It's happening now, guys. All right, I will be back with you tomorrow night for more good conversations, people. Please get this trending once again on Rumble. Please hit those like buttons on all the different channels. Make sure you're following, subscribe. Much love, appreciation, guys. Thank you for all the Rumble rants tonight. Thank you for all the support. And you guys have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!